Welcome back to Stationeers. In today's episode of Learn to Code, we are today looking at this bright thing in the sky, the sun. The sun is a constant thing that we have to work with, and I thought, well, I guess I didn't think, I got an idea from one of you guys about how to control the light with the sun. So how can we do that? Well, we have this. This is called a daylight sensor. It's part of the sensor pack. So when I mean sensor pack, or sensor kit, sorry. It's this one. Kit sensors produces daylight, motion, gas, occupancy, and proximity. And we are looking at the daylight. The daylight has, in logic mode, it has the mode activate horizontal reading, vertical reading, the solar angle, if it's on or off, the prefab has, and the solar irradiance, reference ID, and name has. The last bits here down here, we don't really ever look at. They don't matter. As default, it's set to 0, and meaning that when it's facing down like this, it would detect the sun. If you mount this one down here on the side, you see squid sunlight is false. But you clearly see it's illuminated by the sun. But that's because it's set to default mode. If you change the default mode to vertical, I think it is, then it would also read down there. But we just put like this, so it's symbolizing that we are on the roof of a base. So what we're going to use it for? Well, this grid sunlight, which is true right now, true meaning it's 1, we can use to control some lights, for example, or whatever. We can use it to control light today. So basically, the outdoor light is going to be controlled by it. So I've put up some lights here of this type, and that is 4. Now let's say these lights are in the area of your filter station, outside somewhere. But you also want to control your rocket area outside somewhere. We don't want to have multiple sensors or the logic to control it with. Well, then we can use something to transmit to it. So that's why I've made this over here. I've set up a little bit. I've put some of the junks down already. Now, this is just for power. So those two just give me power. It's like a creative power version. And that one is just to charge my battery. Just so you know. Now we can do... we'll wait with this one for now. And then we'll set up the logic behind it. Let's see. Let's first put in the sensor. So let's pop him down here. Let's get our tool out. Cable. And I'm doing heavy cable out here for some reason. I don't know why. It doesn't matter. So now we need to read this one. So grid sunlight. Let's get our tablet out. So you see there, it says active. Active on logic is the grid sunlight. If I cheat here and set the orbit to 600, enter, you see now it's dark. Very dark. Let's turn off the light. Let's remove that. See now grid sunlight is false, meaning the sun is over there somewhere. And you see here active is also false or 0. So we want to read this to set these lights to be on when this is false. Great. Let's see how we can do that. So first thing first, we need some logic. Again, I'm doing this on a test bench so I can play around. Well, we know we need I/O to read and to write the items. We also need to compare something, so we need the logic processor, and we need to compare the logic processor with something. So probably a memory. We have plenty of that. So we know we need at least we need to read. So if we mount this here, that's the logic reader. That's the logic reader. And then we need to write to these items. But there's several of them, meaning we need to batch write. And this one. Lovely. Great. Now, we also need to check whether it's 0 or not. Because if it was the opposite way, so if we had 1, or if it was 1 when it was false, then we didn't have to do anything else. We could just read it and send it off. But we can't do that way, sadly. So we need to put that over there. We need to take some... No, not memory. We need to take a compare unit. So we... Whoops. I could build some frame there. Anyway, we will put down a... Move that. We will put down a compare here. And we need to compare something. So we need to tidy up. We take some logic memories, and we can pop that here, just to have it. Lovely. Let's wire everything up. Not that. Cable. So. There we are. And like so. It moved too far away from the... Oh, who cares? There we are. Good. Let's set up these things. So first thing first, the reader. We want to read from the data center. We want to read the active status and set him on. And we probably also need to give him power. That could be a great idea. And that one has power. Yes, okay. Let's pop him over there. Screwdriver. Turn him on. There we are. So currently the active is 0. Perfect. Then we want to compare this to something. So we have a memory over there. We could name that memory, but we don't need to, but we could. So on the compare unit, we need to compare equals. So if the input of the reader is equal to the memory, then it can go on. So the memory comes as default as 0, so we don't need to set it to anything, we just need to have it. So we have something to read from. Then on the bats, we will set the input from the compare. We want to set the output for the lights, like so. And the variable we want to change is the on. And they're on. Lovely. But they're not on over there. How do we do that then? Well, if you have seen some of our other videos, we have a transmitter. I've used it a few times with the robots. And this is not the same. But we can use it for something here. So we're going to pop that down. We're going to take another I/O. And this time we take a logic writer. Where is it? There we are. And of course I could have put it all the way around, but who cares? Let's cable him up. Like so. Lovely. Everything is blinking. That's nice. You shouldn't change your logic system while you are online. And he also needs to have power. There we are. So let's just take that away. Let's take this one. So this one, we want to set to passive. We want this one to have a wire there. That's for sure. And him, we want to output to the transmitter. And we want to set him to setting. And input will be the compare. We could also take the bats, but we take the compare. Set him on. And you see now the setting on this one is 1. Then we want to name this one, just for good measure. We can call him Outdoor Light Master. Whatever, doesn't matter. And we don't need to set this one because he's set to passive. We can turn him on and he doesn't go to error. If you set him to active, he will be in error unless you set him to something here. So if I set him to, let's say, yeah, he wouldn't be able to do anything because all these are doing something different. Anyway, we need him to be a passive. Passive means that we just send out and input. So what did happen here? There we are. So the passive means he just transmitting the information out, and any transmitter can read from it. So we're going over here and set up the same thing. Kind of. As you can see, I've already done it, but my recording failed because I did it in a bad way. Anyway, let's set it up again. So the transmitter, we pop here. And as you can see, no, and we pop in a batch writer here. Nothing else, just that. And this unit we will set to read from the master, outdoor master on, and he's now mirroring that one. So if we set this one to read from the transmitter right to the light, and we set the on value, why are you not reading? Let's just check over here. What's going on here? Not to compare. None. There we are. I think it lost. I don't know. So now you see it's on. If I then set the time of day to 0, they turn off. Let me just fly out a little bit. You see now they're both on. There's a bit of delay, but that's fine. It's just how it is. Well, that is a simple transmitting of data between 2 points in your base. It's good. It can be quite useful if you have multiple places where you want to use outdoor light, but you don't want to have too much logic. There is a catch, however. This transmitter takes 50 watt. So here you have 60. Whereas if you move the transmitter over here, and this one, you only have 10, 20, 30. And that one doesn't take any watt. So it's actually cheaper to just build the transmitting system without doing all the fancy bit. But usually you would do more in certain areas. So what you could do is if you did with IC. So let me remove this, and then we can do IC, and then you can imagine you did it in your filtration system, and you could use it to do more than just the light, but you can also do the light, if you get my drift. So let me just clear everything, and then we'll do the IC version. Okay, so now I've cleared everything, and I've mounted our IC house here. We keep this one, of course, we need to transmit again. Over here I've done nothing, so that will still just look at that transmitter over there and then do whatever it needs to do. So, how would you do this feature on your tablet, on your IC? So I'm taking out the tablet this time, or the laptop, or whatever you want to call it. So let's edit this. So first of all, we want to do the 2 aliases. So we want to do daylight, or sensor, whatever we want to call it. Put that to D0. The next one we want to do our transmitter. Now that when you've done those two, we want to do the actual looping. So we can just call it loop, we can call it start, whatever we want to call it. Always remember the 2 dots, and let's do a jump back to loop. There is about 3 ways you can do this. There's one way that's super easy, and then there's some that's a bit less easy. Not easy, but nicer. Not nice, as nice. So let's go in here in the function. I can show you, because we're only going to do the nice one, I think. The other ones are not really pleasant to look at. So BEQ set. is we're going to branch to a line if A equals 0. Meaning we could have BEQ set here, and then we could read the value of the daylight sensor. If the value would be 0, it would jump down and turn everything on. And then if A was great, no, sorry, not that one. If A would be greater than 0, we would do the same thing, just turning everything off. Get what I mean? Now there is another version, another way you can do it, which takes no lines whatsoever. It takes 4 lines basically, so it's the easiest way to do this. So first thing first, we want to read from the daylight sensor, and we want to read that into a register. So R0 for the register, and we want to do the daylight, and we want to read the activate. This value we want to change to a 1 if it's dark. So there is a version called SEQ set. And if you look at that, register equals 1 if A equals 0. Otherwise it'll be 0. This means that if you put A in and it is 0, like if it's dark outside, the register that you then put in would be 1. Vice versa if it's daylight. So let's put a new register in, R1, and then R0. So again, if R0 is 0, then R1 is 1. If R0 is 1, then R1 is 0. It sounds confusing, but trust me, it's the best way to do it. Next thing, we want to do a set batch of these lights. So set batch, we do set batch because we don't need to take the name. We could do set batch a name. So S, like this one, let me just show you here. If you do SBN, you do the device hash and the device name. So you could take, let's say, these two, but not the other ones, if you take the name as well. But here we just do lights, we want to do all of them. So we want to get the device hash, so let's go in here, light, long angle of, yeah, it's that one. We want to take this value, click on that, and it's automatically copied to your clipboard, Control V, then and then you want to set on. And here you just put R1. The next thing you want to do is set the transmitter, setting, R1. Done. That's it. Simple little logic. And as you can see here, you could easily have more things to do other items. Let's copy that out. Let's put that in. He's blinking because he doesn't have any information. Let me get my screwdriver there. So here we want to put the daylight sensor. Let's turn him on, turn him off, sorry. Here we want to put the transmitter. So that's the master. And nothing happens because the sun is on. Let me fly away. Let's see what happens. So 600. Light on. Lovely. 1. And lights. It's off again. And just to show that I don't cheat, let's turn him off. That's another one. Nighttime. Nothing happens. Because he is off. If I turn him on again, they turn on straight away. And that is a simple, easy, not efficient way to control your light. The transmitter is what breaks it. I don't understand why you have to use so much power to transmit data. I honestly don't get it. But you see that required power 50. That is a lot. You could obviously do a safe. Oh, that is actually a good idea. If the, let's try that. Set transmitter on, and that would be the same one. Let's just that on. Oh. Export. Right, so if it's daylight, he's off. Meaning you don't spend power on him. And if it becomes daylight, nighttime again, he comes on and that goes on. So you're saving 50 watt. Not really efficient, but it's better than using 50 all the time. Because you're still using 50, you're still using 50 over here. And you'll be using these ones everywhere if you're transmitting the data this way. But to transmit power, if you want to do it for your light, this is the way to do it. But like I said again, not really an efficient way. That is a quick little guide on how to do your outdoor light based on the solar. You could also use the vertical angle of the sun, but I don't feel that is a good way to do it. If you place this, let's say, on the top of your base, on your roof, and you can then transmit it to wherever you need to go. Or pull cables. I mean, that's probably cheaper in the long run than using 50 watt every single time. But yeah, that is what I have to say on the outdoor light control. And yeah, I hope you liked it. Until next time, take care, everybody. Bye for now.